years ago, it turned into fashion. That's good.
You get the woman in the picture more here.
I tried to tell her that. I'm like,
Let's go.
no. She always goes off to the side.
How's Flipper? You doing any flippering?
I don't know. I haven't talked to Flipper. I've never talked to Flipper.
You got to talk to Flipper more.
He talks to Flipper more than I do.
Yeah.
What?
You do. You make the sounds more than I do.
I make fun of, I mock it, I guess.
So that's like New Age grandiosity, right? The thing that was my first escape from facing myself, which is nice because you get to get away, you know, but then it became like the devil because there's no accountability in it. With real studenthood, with real mastery, there's this thing called authentic sages, authentic lineages. So there's not ever going to be another day than today that you have as an opportunity to make that the priority. It's never going to be something else is the priority. And as long as your brain demands that, you're going to be disappointed and let down and all of that kind of thing.
Would you consider Muji to be like maybe not a sage, but a bridge kind of a guy, or is he kind of?
Yeah, I think he's a bit bridgy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't do it, you know.
What about
You could-
Sai Ma?
No way. No way.
Even though she's recognized
As
as
a Jaga guru.
reincarnation of whatever.
She had her main center here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I don't know, can you get a certain smell for when something is New Age silliness?
Mm-hmm.
If they're very glitzy or makeup-y or all of these judgments, most likely they're not real. When it comes down to moral, ethical, sexual behavior, you've got two realities. One is there's purifications that are needed there for character development. And two is you can't reach the mark. So unless that's the teaching of whoever you're talking to, then you're not under a teacher. And none of those people talk that way. They don't talk about specific kind of accountability to specific behaviors like you would get in a church maybe, or a repentance call, you know. When you get to real teachers, that's all they talk about is grace and law. How are you going to get non-cognitive grace beyond your own mind and bathe yourself in a transcendental atmosphere for a while, and how you're going to change your tune and find out how to do better. You sell chai when you sell the samosas, don't you?
No.
That's so evil. Sell chai from now on, for God's sake. So are you silly?
Well, I shouldn't say no. I haven't sold chai. I've had Shantae make chai. Ironically, she makes really good chai. And it's been hit or miss because it's really hot here. So what we did, and then we
They don't
stopped.
like hot chai. They're like,
So-
it's too hot.
Oh, right.
Because the weather. So we tried a couple times, a few events, cold chai, like iced chai. Didn't do as well. But I can try again. You know, and
You got to
see-
have drinks. Don't you have drinks for sale?
Imani's juice. Imani and Alex
Oh,
make
good.
these local. She started her own side business, so I've been.
Good.
I let her do the drinks, and their juices are really good and nourishing and healthy.
Good. That sounds good.
Yeah, so they pick all their fruits, and you actually use a cheesecloth to do their juices. So
Nice.
and it's nice because she has her own little business. Her and Alex, her boyfriend, make the juices. Anthony loves their juices, right?
Yeah, I got one right here. Right here, it's fresh.
Nice.
Beet,
Beet, carrot, parsley.
parsley, cucumber, or celery. Yeah, spirulina.
And then you have a big fat steak.
He actually had this. Did you send him the picture?
I did
Yeah.
send a picture.
That was wonderful.
I cooked it a little too long, but it was good.
Eat it raw. Just if you want more immune system response.
For me?
Yeah, didn't something shoot
Oh,
you last
well,
night? You were out of your head or something?
Oh yeah, I worked on the psychological aspect. So I went back and read my CT
fan on.
scan. I turned that fan on. I read my CT scan, right? From the emergency room. They CT scanned everything. And they've said everything was actually okay. There was like some small, maybe cysts in my liver or whatever, which is just old age stuff. But all this stuff like that I was afraid of, like, oh, None of that was there. The only thing that was there was my white blood cells. So basically I had an infection. And so I went to the doctor after that, my primary. And he's like, oh yeah, look, it was an infection. Try to eat like this, do that, all this liquid diet. And I'm hesitant to give you antibiotics because I would rather have it. So basically the infection came and went. And so I've been dealing with an infection all the time. But psychologically, I was like fixated on, oh my God, like ulcer or this or that. In the meantime, look at all this time that went by and I lost 35 pounds. I'm like, I'm identifying this lack of discipline. There's something that's.
Don't talk about lack of discipline anymore. I don't want to hear it. I'm so tired of everybody talking about thoughts and forms and this teacher, that teacher. Just it's very simple. You've got sages and saints, and then you've got duty in terms of non-cognitive. It's not like something that you have to do better, or how would I say? Okay, when the structure of the conversation is grace first, law second, then you're great. But when the conversation is structured law first, or I'm going to do this first, or I have to discipline myself differently first, you're just lost. That's what everybody does in the whole world.
Well, when you say that
outside world,
when you say that, so like the conversation would be grace first, would that be like if there was any sharing about the experience of grace, how it's maybe showing up?
You will get to non-cognitive silent mind when you practice. That's it. How will you get there? Is it the mango tree from the old property? Is it the nasal airflow, eyelid light? You can't just like get out of the labor of making yourself calm down. So that's strictly speaking, the guy that brought Zen to the United States said, strictly speaking, no effort is required. However, if you don't make some effort, I don't think you'll make any progress. So your job is to calm down and become accepting of these people and these thoughts and these sounds and this reality, and to discover the inner world. And if you don't accomplish that job, then you're going to be stuck in an outer world, and that causes degeneration. As you get older, you just completely lose reality. For an individual who prioritizes inner silence, meditation, wisdom, these kinds of things, their intelligence and their behavior improves over time. They become smarter, stronger, better over time. So if you do it the other way around, you become dumber, weaker, and more endangered over time. So the whole world pursues outer solution for inner problem. What I mean is I'm going to think my way, I'm going to discipline my way, I'm going to work enough, I'm going to make enough money, and it's all a joke. You may as well live on the street and be homeless and have poverty, because there's nothing out there that you're ever going to get. If you can find the inner world and accept that, paying the bills and so forth at the same time, and you can live a life that eclipses all of humanity, because all of humanity is going much of nowhere. They're not intelligent people.
Yeah, I listened to that video you sent of the Seventh-day Adventists or whatever, dude, talking about the law versus grace. That was pretty powerful.
Yeah, he's the best Bible teacher really that there is. In every tradition, you have an extraordinary presentation of the scriptures, and it's always practical. Now, if you're doing too much spiritual stuff that gets you to transcend, then you realize that you're not really doing spiritual work, because spiritual work is gritty. Now, when you have a great presentation of a Sikh teacher, maybe Sant Thakar Singh or something, they're going to explain to you what it means to be an adult. They're going to explain to you what it means to go to bed and wake up and I don't know, deal with your emotions more importantly than anything. If you go to a great Buddhist teacher, they're going to talk about the afflictive emotions. If you go into the Bible and good Christian teacher, they're going to talk about the 7 deadly sins and pride and lust and greed and all that kind of stuff. When this becomes the substance of conversation, now you're a student in this world with this mind and this body and these people and this circumstance. And that's what you keep trying to avoid. But if you do that, you develop a tremendous engaged magnetism, and that magnetism makes you change. Now you can really transcend. Talk about being beyond it all, being a cosmic individual, stuff like that. These things will make sense to you, but You've got to establish your curriculum and not be wayward. You can't, get energized and then go make things better in your life and then forget how the energized happened. So the internal journey has rules to it. Nasal airflow, eyelid light, like when you're going to sleep. That's what you're going to feel and sense. It's not going to change. You're not going to get instruction from me. This is the last stop, because this instruction is modeled after how it works. If you start to calm down, you're going to sense your nasal airflow. You're not going to avoid that instruction ever. If you accept a good teaching from that guy, then of course there's another 1,000 teachings from him. He's the best Bible teacher that there is. I listened to him for 40 years. He's translated in over 100 languages and heard around the world every day.
I can't remember his name.
J. Vernon McGee.
He reminds me of my grandfather, the way he talks.
What's his name again, William?
J. Vernon McGee. And go to Galatians 3 if you want to do the Bible version. If you want to do the Tao Te Ching, you could use my translation or Red Pine's translation. If you want to do the Guru Granth Sahib, look at to aspects for practical living. You've been lied to. To talk to Flipper and to get beyond and to be transcendental and not engage conflict is exactly opposite of what you need. If you want to become transcendental, do this, what I'm asking you to do. Become a grit student facing yourself. Then you're really going to transcend, because it builds a platform and a springboard. Your life is the preparation for meditation, a prayerful, reverent life that's cloistered like a monastery. There's no communion with the world. It's oil and water. The world is pursuing an external solution for a personal problem, and they are devolving, generally speaking. You are pursuing an internal solution for an internal problem. And so therefore your psyche will evolve. Now, if your psyche evolves, you have the best chance to influence your genes, epigenetic influence. Not if your psyche doesn't evolve, you're not going to have more control to be healthy and be alive. So the biggest fear is disease and death for everybody. And then that takes into account loss. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. I'm not good enough and all that stuff. Well, the very purpose of the law in all the traditions is to bring you to grace. So when you measure your mind against the law, you should have nothing further to say. You should be completely submitted, because you are wrong. You are wrong, bad, and the problem. And it's trying to deny that then you really get it. So once you find out I am a sinner or I'm a human in process, you've got to create a context for all these conversations in a way you accept, because your mind might want to poke holes in whatever I'm saying, so you're never teachable. Remember, if you don't have a community of truly wise people threading your daily life, then you didn't even start yet. If you're not involved in a university that's accountable to people with faces, then you didn't really get on the path yet, because the path is not transcendental. The path is coherence right here. And when you have coherence right here, you become transcendental, because coherence is like, it doesn't have a for and against. Coherence is self-sourcing, self-repairing, self-actualizing. So you're not looking anymore. You don't move. You're still finally. And to find this, you've got to have a GPS. The professors, the University of Enlightenment, the curriculum, and then the science. Science is pretty simple. Can I change my emotions? Can I influence my emotions? Can I influence my thoughts? Can I influence my behavior? Can I influence my biology? That's the science of enlightenment.
How does personal coherence relate to permeability?
Wow, that's a great question. I love that. Well, in science, Meissner magnetism is a self-contained field of magnetism that's invincible in nature. If you put an electron in a superconductor, then once it's super cold, there's no force that can penetrate it in all of nature. It's super coherent. So lack of super coherence in a magnetic field means that you've got holes in your boat. It means that I can point at you and say, you're wrong. Or you can point at me and say, you're wrong. So that's why nobody listens to each other. So all relationship has got to be based on a third cause. Any relationship has got to be based on being in school together, the schoolroom earth. And now you have teachers, sages, and you have curriculum, morality, and you have duties to do, and you're both in this school, and there's infinite level PhDs. So now you're not like bouncing off each other. You're both you're under the umbrella of a curriculum. Okay, so when you have a super coherent field, it is completely self-repairing, self-actualizing, self-motivated. It's an existence all in itself. It's like the toroidal field of Earth. It's a magnetic field. The galaxy has it. Every cell in your body has it. And that toroidal field might have little distortions. That's where there's distortions in your bones and in your cells and in your organs, where there's some disease or something, and that makes a hole in the field. Then nature abhors a vacuum, so it rushes in. So if you're personally coherent and magnetic, people like a master, people tend to go to the feet of that kind of person, because there's personal coherence allows the forces of nature to come to you. Gravity, electromagnetism, weak force, strong force. The sky above is positive electricity, right? Well, if you're all messed up in your brain, you have no connection to the sky above. So you're a magnetic field that is without connection of the wire to where positive electricity is. Where's negative electricity? The soil. So the human being is like a wire in between nature this way. But we tend to live horizontally, not vertically. Vertically should be primary, because that's the cosmos. That's what embraces nature. And it's interesting that there's negative electricity in the soil and positive electricity up here. So when you are connected, let's say a big light goes on your face. And then they say, oh, well, he's off here and he's off and she's off there, and this is out of symmetry and everything else. Okay. So that is lack of coherence. So the path to enlightenment is to discover your own personal dissymmetry and lack of coherence, and let it be attacked by the asteroids of the psychic projections of others. Because everybody's like a pointing finger. Everybody thinks that they're God's gift and nobody understands them, because there's no authority in their lives. Once you have authority in your life, like the sun and the stars or a enlightened person, you can be transparent. And in that transparency, the asteroids come and hit you. And in the asteroids hitting you, you gain mass, just like a planet is built. And as that mass builds, you gain gravity. And as that gravity builds, you start to open up a bit. So now you're more connected to sky and earth. And now that place in your body that's sick or ill or whatever can switch in a moment, possibly. If you feel wonderful or some great event happens, your sickness might go away. Like you had sickness in the last couple of weeks and all that. Let's say somebody all of a sudden gave you $1 million check. Maybe that could be a catalyst. I don't know. Let's say all of a sudden Opiners said something that was just so perfect. Maybe that's a catalyst. So our job is to be transparent and introduce into the places of our biological biography that are ailing some catalyst that'll have us unbound and become connected again. And in the vast connection, your personal field becomes super coherent, becomes more coherent. Left side of the brain, right side of the brain, so forth. So transparency allows you to experience ambrosial attack.
Which for 1 second.
Oh,
Just 1 second.
What are you doing?
her dad's not feeling well. She doesn't get to talk to him much. So it's like
Okay.
a miracle when he calls.
Okay.
Yeah. So I see that I've been living in reverse. So basically it feels like what you described is the exact opposite way that I've been living my life. So I've been living my life by law, trapped by law, thinking law is
Right.
most important. 10 commandments, like not even consciously, subconsciously, the 10 commandments have been running through. And no, you got to be honest, but and there's like all this conflict within my own system, right? And I've been blocking like discover your own lack of symmetry for me seem like it'd be simple. I could look in the mirror and tell, well, my neck's crooked, well, you know, my
Yeah.
left hip, I can put my feet on the ground, my right ankle. I mean, there's a lot of easy ways for me to sit here and be transparent about lack of symmetry. And yet I've been sort of avoiding it. I'm sort of like burying it, I guess. I don't know what's been going on. So you're saying that by accepting that studying the stages and saints, I accept that my neck is this way. Then maybe I have a chance where I'm out here, I'm not reactive. I'm in that like coherent zone. So I'm feeling a little bit of magnetism now because whatever, I'm not, then maybe, that there's a chance for that to happen.
Well, I wouldn't think about the chance for it to happen, especially since medical science says it's an incurable disease, basically.
Yeah.
However, the point is not the outcome. The point is the process. Now, if you can abandon outcome, which is part of every scriptures as well.
Very difficult. I've been tempting.
Well, you've got to abandon outcome because the body is worm food. So there's no use in having some point in outcome. I'm going to heal my mind. I'm going to heal my finances. I'm going to heal my body. I'm going to heal my relationship. As soon as you do that, you're in a big trouble. Now, if you say that and it's some kind of a part of drive because you want to improve your quality of life inside of yourself, now you can experience magic that allows you to externalize your energy to touch somebody else and help them, to be a friend to them by, paying attention, so forth. But process is the antichrist. I mean, product is the antichrist of process. Process is Jesus, product is antichrist. It's not that you shouldn't have a goal, but basically driven people, they're involved and they don't even know why they're so motivated to create an airplane, a space shuttle, a better life, or whatever. You got to have this big job of improving yourself. And then your relationship is part of that. And your body is part of that. But it's all psychology, really, because your psychological influence is determining brain waves, brain chemistry, breathing patterns, influencing all these things in measures that you can't see. So you have to become totally still. And the only way you can become still is not by freezing yourself. It's not by becoming constricted with law, saying I must do everything perfectly. It's by being loved unconditionally by life, because there's air around here and there's magnetism around here and there's babies around here and there's a lot of wonderful things in life. Now, from that, you can be the meanest warrior, the toughest warrior, the greatest destroyer if you're challenged. But it's not the other way around. It's not external, which the body's external. Even the mind is external. Who you are as an observer of the movie stream of your life is giving you perspective only if you have contentment and quiet. So your whole life should be a monastic life of trying to calm down, settle down. And when everybody says don't do that, you have to just let them go because they don't understand. If you get too animated to do too much of the external, if you become identified with the external world, you have nothing. You lose your soul. You become an empty shell. You become a ghost, hungry ghost. It's always craving. That's the destiny for most people. I don't want that destiny. I would like to be fulfilled, wealthy in every aspect, coherent, masterful, a better person. So the evolution of the human species is dependent upon you to reverse the search and face who you are. That's got nothing to do with your body.
So what an example of that, is that have to do with a little bit of the spaciousness? So say I'm in a situation, I'm going to react to the outside where what you just described. I'm external. I realize that at this moment, there's a space and I have an opportunity to just observe these thoughts and not be external and turn inward. Is that part of the process, or is that like a suppression?
No, that's perfect. A couple of 1,000 years worth of that. And you might get to the place of developing so much magnetism that you're the fastest, the smartest, and nobody can keep up with you, period. So what I mean? But now you can act, you can move and shake, because life is a fight in terms of external dynamism.
It's like it slows down, but you actually get more production, right? In a way.
Yeah, but you can't think about that right now.
Yeah, that's a goal.
Think about the internal.
Keep going to the goal. Yeah.
Well, that's natural. I mean, that's what we all do. But if you could just fall in love and become happy right now, calm down beyond what everybody's told you, that you need to be somebody different, that you need to do more and all that. The only message that you've ever gotten from anybody is that. I'm not giving you that message. I'm giving you the message that you're okay the way you are. Matter of fact, you're wonderful the way you are. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to beat you, because you must be disciplined to experience stillness and silence, not suppressive stillness and silence, but accepting, transparent, receptivity, satiated, calm down.
So that's like that to me, it feels like grace in that moment. So when I'm observing my own mind wanting to just externalize, and I'm like, I recognize that externalize, like that moment feels like grace for some reason. Like I'm getting a moment of grace by not externalizing and getting caught up in energy chess.
No matter what, because everybody exists to pull you off their square, because people don't exist that are coming from a place of wholeness. People exist from coming from a place of agenda.
Is that where the two
I have
things
to
Mm-hmm.
go get my pillow. I'll be back.
Okay.
two things that were kind of when you were speaking, I got the word, like you said, it's not about not having non-attachment is what I was hearing you say about being and not still doing what you have to do, but not being attached to the external thing.
There's no doing anything here. You're going to experience prayer, meditation, and scriptures. And if you don't do anything and don't eat, I don't care.
Okay. And then anxiety, is a cause of anxiety from living, I almost want to say living horizontally and not living vertically.
Yes. Because you didn't dismantle your body and your own mind. For a person who is awake or something conscious, death is already here. If you're very, very conscious, death already happened to you. Because you can see timelines and things like that. The more quiet you are, the more you can process like a quantum computer. The internal world is more conscious. So since the internal world is more conscious, you realize that the vertical alignment encompasses the horizontal dynamics. The horizontal dynamics between you and the other person is not all of life. That's not all of life. If you both are in school together, for example, and the school is sort of your dream, you want to become a doctor or something, then you both are under this umbrella. Well, people go to school to get something, not to give something. People go to school to augment themselves, not to become a selfless servant of humanity that's surrendered to real masters. People don't even know what a real master is. In other words, if you have the conception of a Yoda, then you say, oh, that's nice. There's really wise statements. Okay. Is there anybody that exists in flesh and blood in history or currently or in the future? That kind of a personality, does that exist, or is it all fantasy world? Is it Jesus totally fantasy world? Is Buddha total fantasy world? Well, if you're not sure, then you just didn't do enough research. And your ego is so much trying to find perfection in the external world that you have no transparency. And you realize that we're like all one organism groping about in search of ourselves. But once you get a bite of food from something that's competent, someone that's competent, or you have a profound quote, and you get the silence, the mental antiseptic of silence, the magnetic energy that develops from that is extraordinary. So the only thing you have to understand about is how you're going to calm down and get vertically aligned. There's an ascending and descending order of intelligence. Where are you in the food chain? Do you know that there's bigger fish that they're to eat you if they want? Do you know that there's smaller fish that you can either tend to or eat? I mean, you got to pay attention to the dynamism that's around you in the horizontal world, but give it all to the vertical world, meaning, is there a Plato? Is there somebody that has energy and intelligence that you should invest your energy and intelligence by giving it to them? For most people, that doesn't exist. You just continue to consume. But if you don't invest, how are you going to get any returns? So that's what it means to find out your my favorites list. And what I'm asking you to do is to get up at 3 a.m, if you have to get up at 3 a.m, and make sure that you experience profound, conscious, embodied silence.
Funny, I've been getting up, but I get up quite a few times at night, and it's not funny, but instead of getting up and going back to sleep, the question for me is like, why don't I just stay up? You know.
And what's your experience in when you go into your meditation? What do you do? How do you get there? Scientists and sages say that's the best place to produce wellness. I think we all need wellness. So what do you do to meditate? How does it work for you?
Well, I get to that place of complete silence. There's different ways that I do it. I do, the fives, tens, and customize, but then I listen to Amma. She has a new quote. I listen to her quotes, and she's been having some powerful. I mean, all of her quotes are powerful, but this last week I've just been watching her quote, getting her quotes and writing them down, which has been helping me a lot. Like her quotes are really amazing. And then listening to Babaji, listening to him, and
What that the mantra?
yeah, the Waheguru
Okay.
one. But I've been
Oh,
playing it more.
oh,
listening
that
to it.
you're Babaji. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, my Babaji. But then
Okay.
also there's this man, it's called Nithanim. I sent it to you before, but
Nityananda.
no, it's this guy. He translates the Guru Granth Sahib. He's from England, but I listened to a very powerful talk from him, and after that, it took me into a place of more like meditation, like you're talking about. But he takes a Granth Sahib and he breaks it down how you're talking about. He talks about the practicality of it, of the measurable results and the mind, and how it's not just reading the book and then going to the temple. And he's breaking down verse by verse of the Gurbani, which is helpful for me because he's translating it. The book
Whether
is-
it's the Guru Granth Sahib or the Buddhist Mahayana Hinayana texts or the Tao Te Ching from the original Chinese, or Psalms and Proverbs and the words of Jesus and the doctrines of faith, justification, substitution, anointing, redemption in Christianity, the personal relationship, whether it's the Diamond Sutra in Tibetan Buddhism, all of these things have a couple of outcomes. One is your mind is quieted. And two is a meditation, reverence for wisdom that's beyond yours. I mean, if you ever heard a great talk, you have a reverential attitude and you give up that you're the great intelligence of the universe. So if you actually can associate with some words of wisdom that are working for you, like you've been doing, it's going to have a reverential, prayerful type of a thing. Prayerful communication simply means you're speaking with some person or some quality of words. You're communicating with them either through contemplation or actually believing that you're communicating with them. And you get back this transmission. Now that's the point around here. The transmission is everything. So you must go beyond words to get the transmission. To go beyond words means that you have embodiment, because it's being stuck in the cortex doesn't lead you to the brainstem. The cingulate cortex and the orbital part of the cortex underneath the third eye, the sphenoid bones in the nose, and the largest bit of magnetite bearing tissue right there in your body that senses magnetism. All these things will bring you to the pituitary gland, the brainstem, the inner world. Once you get the inner world, you're going to go into the deepest repair mode of the body, super slow rhythms.
That's when you, sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I want to hear what you're going to say.
No, you just reminded me, like, was it last week? A different version of what you're talking about is I sat outside in our yard, which I'm trying to do it more regularly. I did it this morning, but sitting out there and grounding, and there was a place of just non-cognitive, like there was just this silence and this like it's hard to put it into words, but it was
Well, let's do that. Let's put it into words so that we can understand where the magic resides in life. Tell me more about it.
well, there was like a stillness, and I could like it just listening to the leaves and the birds, and I want to say darshan, but I just had this feeling, and I just, it wasn't that some tears were coming down my face, but it was just this moment of gratitude because everything was just still. I
So
can't.
where did all that come from? Where did the way whole new life improvement of samosas come from? Selling it. Where did the experience of the new house come from? Where did the experience of the gratitude of that moment all come from?
The word I get is from within, but it came from I don't know,
Darshan.
darshan. Yeah, it
Yeah.
came from darshan and meditation and
So somewhere in your life, the gratitude will have a face. It'll have particular instructions, particular new things that you learned. Somewhere you'll be able to have gratitude for the source of where it comes from. And then you'll be in right relationship with mentoring. What I'm saying is that the last thing anybody ever wants to do is to realize that there's somebody in the world that eclipses our intelligence and that actually does magic in our lives. But of course, it's like the value of a mentor in a child's life. I mean, you change the whole life. But the
That was-
human brain kind of doesn't ever want to do that.
well, that comes from the tying into what I was going to say. Also, is comes into the doing the practices, the meditation that you're teaching.
No, it comes from people.
people.
Yeah, it comes from me and Karuna Mayi and Amaji and whoever has suffered for the sake of your health and your life and your well-being. Now, your mind has to define who that is and be settled about it, because then you're in the community of wise people. And now the experience of transparency that allows you to discharge toxins from your body and allows you to receive from nature is animated. So it's all about the transmission coming from authentic teachers of enlightenment, of life. So your job is to create the community of wise people in your life to be very, very clear and to make sure that the people who do that become part of your everyday action. When you open and close a door, when you're standing, to be disconnected from the sun, moon, and rain is the same thing as being disconnected from the community of wise people. But what we've been taught is that we can do it all ourselves and we have it within us. It's all bullshit. You have to have the spark from people that care, people that are willing to go the distance, and they exist, as you know. But what happens in the beginning levels of our education is that it's just a place to get power. And then we don't have transparency and humility with our minds. We just get the power from the people and we go about figuring it out ourselves. Well, if you want to become awake, alive in a real way that is just the next level, because there's always next levels, you want to tie your wires to the sources and you never look back, never return. So you've got two aspects of that: darshan, which is like the energy of a truly wise person, and they exist unquestionably, right? So you've been defining them and you have them in your life. And what I'm asking is do that another times 50. And then nature. Nature's nourishing means that you are transparent. You are clear that you need guidance, that you have physical aging and need intervention there and different things. And now you're connected to the current, to nature's nourishing, and to the community of wise people, and never go back, never return.
So
Just keep doing that.
I recognize this tendency. You talk about specific. I'm very vague. So I feel like I'm suffering from vaguism or something. So
Sorry.
it's obvious because you say specific, and then I'm like, I'm drifting around over him. No, he said specific. I think I have an idea of what specific is. I feel what he means by specific, and yet I continue to be very vague. So how important is that specific? Because you said
it's vitally important now, and I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Your level, our level of connecting with and conduiting true wisdom and true masters of life must change. It must become different. I don't care where you're at and how much you want to know. No, the whole thing is it must become different because there's no stasis in life. There's either progress or regress. So wherever you're at, go into, if you're into Amachi now more or something, go into her ashram, go into all of her inner circle. I know each one of them personally. Go into something, by a biography. In other words, there's always new levels. Same thing with nature. You've got ants and bears and lions and trees. And the cosmos, twinkling stars. You've got the new Webb telescope experiences. You've got magnetar. In 1/4 of a second, the largest magnetar, which is in my book, Cheap Power and How to Get It, gave off more energy than the sun gives off in 100,000 years. In 1/4 of a second. So your conception of health, of intelligence, of mentors, always must be, oh my God, I can't surrender, I can't obey, I can't follow direction. That's why wise people are extraordinarily humble, because they realize what their unmet need is. And their unmet need is as vast as the human genome. So you become specific. I must have an evolution in my relationship with mentors, my relationship with nature, change behavior. That's very specific.
That's very specific. And that's really powerful what you said to me, because about like, it's always changing. It's always evolving. So
there's no stasis around here.
Yeah, there's no, that takes it to another level.
Yeah. Today is the day you could do that. Today is the day. Say, I don't connect with nature at all. I don't listen to mentors at all. I don't follow the ethical guidelines of behavior at all. That's what you should be saying about yourself, whoever you are. And if you're not, don't expect to have a future, because you ain't gonna have one.
That's what I feel like by being vague. Vague is like it's like an excuse. Well, I listen to this and I listen to that, but basically it's like you're saying, there's either positive, negative, neutral, but there really isn't much neutral. I could say, well, if I lay around, I'm this and that. But basically, if I'm laying around, I'm going backwards. I'm going this way. There's not, it's an illusion, basically.
Well, don't be bipolar with it, where, there is a neutral. Sometimes, lay around. But, it's one of those. Positive, you're going to be proactive. You're going to go outside and you're going to start the garden today. Negative, I need to create a better relationship with J. Vernon McGee, great Bible teacher. Or, in every tradition, the floodgates is wide open. And like I tried to say in last week's class with Carolina's verification, do I not do this day and night without interruption? So how you hear me talking right now and my enthusiasm to try to become a student and all, that's all I do. And I will never do anything else, ever. Because I realize that the distance between me accomplishing the healing of my body or whatever, you want to do, is so vast that I've given up on accomplishment. I don't believe in that anymore. I don't believe in outcomes anymore. I don't believe in people anymore. It's all a fantasy world. I believe in process and how I could maybe find another little aspect of my neurology. And that's what life is. And if life is not that, you don't have a life, because you're stuck in some kind of a dream world. You've got to be right here, right now with these people in this circumstance, doing the best you can to invite other people into this path. It's called life. And if other people can't do that and they have to take control, then they need to go away. So you need to be clear about what the path of life is. And in that path of life, you've got to be 100% dedicated to it. And in that 100% being dedicated, you got to realize that you're 0% dedicated. Get it? Now you're talking magic.
So it seems like what works for me lately is if I come from a place of I don't know to start with, I have like a small chance of listening and learning, but without a goal though. So you got to let go of the goal part, right? See, it goes back to like the goal. But I don't know. So that's why whenever I get
that's the magic. If you can feel safe in front of anybody's face for 1 second and say, I don't know, then you're going to have magic in the next second. But you can't say it and feel safe. So do your confession. I can't say it and feel safe, and then see if you can grow a set. Because that's the only thing that you're going to be able, that's going to heal you, is if you could say to the person in front of you, I don't know, I'm confused and I need your help. And then when other people go like, where's this person coming from? You can laugh at them, maybe if you're being mean, and dismiss them because they're so out of context with reality. There's no contextual understanding of what reality is. Reality is, I need to be transparent right now because the flow of life is trying to come through me and help me. So therefore, the confession aspect, that first step, is vital until the bubble bursts. It happens every time with us for years now, right? I go through all this stuff in the beginning until the bubble is burst and you got nothing to say and you're grounded. And the reason I can do that, I think, is because I kind of live there. I live with the I don't know significantly. And that's what allows me to have such creative adaptation to so many different people and personalities and problems in people's lives, because I've been there. I recognize the God-shaped hole, like they say in Christianity, that we all have. I kind of live with it. And in living with this God-shaped hole, I realize that I better get out of the way and let life stream into me, because I choose to allow happiness instead of sadness and healing instead of illness, and as best as I can choose it. So it's going to take tremendous transparency.
It's been calming me down. It's been like a salvation. I don't know where it came from. I'll be sitting there. There'll be this like energy and this little voice. I don't know. And I'm like, oh. And then sometimes I'll do 10 seconds right after that little feeling comes. I don't know. 10 seconds, like ground to the earth. And then I just observe whatever happens, happens. It's not like I'm attached to it. It is not. And sometimes I get screamed at. Sometimes people they just mysteriously back away. It's weird when I don't like enter into the trying to tell them what I know when they're trying to tell me what they know. It just dissolves sometimes. So it's been keeping me sane, kind of like the thoughts slow down. And I feel like sometimes I go into meditation randomly. I'm standing there and the stuck list, the favorite list at all, I'm sitting there observing that like real time. And I'm like wondering, am I like losing my mind or something? Because I'm not speaking, I'm not reacting. I'm observing these thoughts, and yet it's so diluted compared to what I'm used to, right? I'm used to like, and it's like, oh, okay.
My thoughts, my body, my car, my money, my house, my girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, my, who's the my? Once you find that you're the observer of the stream of informational magnetism, because it's all a feeling of your life, you start to become a mystic. Mystic means that you're behind the scenes of environment and you see things that nobody can see. So if you're totally terrified about being right or wrong, whether you're going to make it or not make it, you can't be a mystic, and you can't enjoy the power that a mystic has, which is behind the scenes of environment, big picture viewing of life. So right now you still think that it's all the outside world and all the ducks in a row, and that's what we're doing here. Will's going to help me figure out how to figure it. I don't even care, because the body is already dismantled in the mind of an awake individual. The conscious mind and the subconscious mind is the same. The sleep state and the wake state is the same. Turbo processing speed, memory, psychological abilities, emotional resilience, all that stuff skyrockets. You mature. So that's what I'm interested in. Greek calls it soul, psyche, So if you can discover the soul or the psyche now you're talking life. You not only can do anything that you want to do, but you also eclipse human intelligence, because people are only projecting in this addiction game. Like, what can you give me? What can I give you? How can you honor me? How can I honor you? It's a game of the senses. That's what relationship is for most people. I won't allow that near me, because to resurrect your life from a living hell means to wake up from the nightmare. And in a moment, the nightmare's over. Illusions are dispelled, and you remember the childhood spirit. You feel it. And that helps you heal your brain and your thinking and your behavior. It's a spontaneous thing, the magnetic pole of the universe. It automatically is giving you extreme rejuvenation constantly. Remember, self-reinvention is the only way to adapt and survive and thrive. If you're constantly in thought and you're constantly in subject-object perception, you can't develop enough magnetism to change neurology, to change who you are on a deep level. So, what do you want? You want the outer world, the inner world? I got news for you. The outer world's going to go away. Your body's going to be worm food. If you have the inner world, not only can you make your body healthier and live longer as much as possible, but also you have eternity. If you do the outer world first, you lose psyche awareness, soul awareness, and you have to suffer psychological pain because you've made that choice of addiction, the cookie. So it takes a long time in this forum around here to just settle down and to tell the truth. I don't have a clue about meditation. I don't ever experience silence, stuff like that.
So do we learn our devotions from the sages?
Yes, you can't have it yourself. You can't light a fire without a match. The coal doesn't become red by itself. So your whole thing is dependent on sun, moon, and rain and wise people that are more wise than you. But, it's like an offense to our intellect to think that there's somebody else that's more intelligent than us. But actually, there really is. And when you can be courageous enough to realize that, now you can become more intelligent. But as long as you're so afraid of being abused by people and so forth, and you can't tolerate the discomfort of personal exposure, you can't evolve. And New Age teaching does nothing for that. It gives you a moment of, it's like a drug. It gives you a moment of relief. Same thing with religious dissociativeness. It's like a club to have some type of pseudo relief, but it's relief nonetheless. So that's why it's so attractive. But we want relief and transcendence so that we can get back into the fight and do better.
So
there's no way out of the fight of life.
So how do we apply like visualization, or is visualization just a bunch of waste of time as well?
No, it's very, very nice. But as you mature, let visions come to you rather than visualizing. But you'll develop a core set. For example, one that I've been wanting to give to the group now for some time, and I'll give it to you now, is this thing I have of ride the golden thread on a beam of light. Now that just came to me. And what that means is get a golden thread. Now, physically, I put the golden thread everywhere, but you could just do it mentally. Have a golden thread, the secret childhood grandfather house, and stretch that thread over to when you were a great break dancer and how that was so fun, and stretch that golden thread over to how you really are becoming successful with the samosas and being respected member of the community and doing a good job, and bring that golden thread over to the ashram, and bring that golden thread, stretch it over to a secret Pele place that you go in nature. And you have this golden thread all the way back to a childhood where you had a magic fort or a special field of flowers, and write it down, all this place of this golden thread, all the places. And you can even tie a golden thread at certain places, like in the Space Force, which is the headquarters at Peterson Air Force Base for the Space Command, where all of the future safety of the world is dependent on the space weapons and everything. I got a golden thread in the hotel, behind the thing over there. And, lots of other places, magic places and mirrors if you want. But anyhow, in your mind is golden thread, all kinds of places, to the relics inside of holy objects, and like my beads, all these different holy things, the stone coming from St. Francis of Assisi's grave, the piece of the stone, Padre Pio's cloth, on and on and on and on and on. Chi masters, real chi masters. So ride that golden thread. After you write down these places, you would better write them down. You're not going to remember. Write them down. And then you can extrapolate on them over time. Like there's magic places, like maybe the basement in your childhood that you forget. That's a nice one for me. Another one. There's all these different places that you forget and that you've gone to and you got totally healed. And now you just forget 10 seconds later. Ride the golden thread on a beam of light and stop at these different places and have a transfer of power. Relive the peak life experiences and the moments.
Yeah, I've been.
So that's a vision. It's very nice.
I've been real lazy because you just described what during meditation, when I'm going through the stuck list and the favorite list, all these stuff comes up that I completely forgot about. I don't
Yeah.
know where- But I don't write them down.
Yeah, you
I'm
got to
lazy.
write them down.
Yes. So
So
I'm
we,
lazy, I admit it.
so it said, you said ride the golden thread on a beam of light.
Yeah.
Stop at these places and write these places down. Like for me, it'd be like when I was a kid and I didn't have any secret place because there was no privacy. But more like on summertime, we'd be laying on the grass and looking at the stars. And that was like a really, that was one of the most peaceful.
So
times.
stop at that place. So the golden thread goes to that place. Maybe there's a particular rock or a particular fence or a particular something, in that place, and make the golden thread touch something there, and then make the golden thread go to another place. And then, like Einstein, when he wrote on a beam of light, these different thought experiments, they call it, ride on a beam of light throughout this loop that's going to all these places, and have a little flash of light happen in each one of these places, and take your power back. Absorb power from these different locations that you're stopping at. And then as you do this support, which is more important than catharsis and relief, you can then look into your body and find out where there's stuck stuff in your biological biography. Some of it is so stuck it's silly in all of us, and just air it again, because you can't air it enough that you're going to stop the aging process, and you are allowed to eliminate. So once you feel profound support, maybe from this vision, ride the golden wire on a beam of light, you can then psychically eliminate, discharge your stuff, which causes grounding for yourself and other people. Grounding and stillness is the solution for the ills of humankind. Everybody talks about this terrible event and this terrible event. We need to change it. We need to stop it. But a sage talks about themselves in relationship with any event, saying that we have negative emotions. We have behaviors that are not helpful. But it seems like that people exist in such a way that that's not part of their reality of life. So they communicate in such a way as though that it doesn't exist. And that split of reality is what causes problems to fester and people to go into addiction and crime and terrible things. But a sage person always talks about how we have afflictive emotions, we have fear, we have distortion, and you're now together and you feel safe and you can air your concerns a little bit.
Now, what is the best way to say safely air anger, to conduit my anger out of me and stuff, frustration and all that? What is the safest way for me to release it, or at least conduit it out? I know it might still come back, but at least let it flow more.
Realize that it's fertilizer and that it's a fine thing once you release it. It's when you deny it that it festers and becomes something distorted. But any psychologist in the world will say anger is a good thing.
I have a question on that too, adding to the anger is, like I've told Anthony sometimes, just the anger, because that's in there from childhood in a deep way. I'm like, I don't know, do you need a punching bag? Do you need like how to get it out? Or is it, I'm just giving a random example, or is it what you just said, in a healthy way to release it is just by acknowledging it?
Think of it like, no, you have to find it in a physical location in your body. Think of it like a balloon filled with pus-filled water. And at the source or at the center of that balloon is this factory that is misinterpreting something. And if it's anger can be correct, by the way, all anger is not wrong. So that's the first thing you have to understand, is that anger is a wonderful thing as well. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, when it's distorted, and it's mostly distorted for us, it's not like saving a child or really important things that we should be angry about. It's not a subject object. Real anger, the destructive force of real anger is kind of like a professional Navy SEAL or something. They say, you call it rage, I call it focus. That kind of anger is very, very difficult for a person to understand, but that's the right kind of anger that you should have to protect the Dharma or the path of human evolution and healing. When it's the distorted kind, it means that we're hiding something, that, we have an attachment. And if you look at the balloon that's pus filled, there's a little factory in the center of there. And that factory is based on a false interpretation of reality and an attachment to some outcome or it's changing reality, some kind of distortion. And we need to, first of all, discharge the negative stuff and realize that it's actually a good thing for the universe, because it's the fertilizer that grows stuff. So it'll make everybody ground. If you just discharge the physical vibe, you have to have a feeling basis with reality, not a thought basis with reality. So when the mind calms, because in every tradition, they kiss there, they touch there, they wipe ashes on the forehead, the Tibetan stoop on the forehead, the friend kisses the forehead, the hand on your head, the anointing, it all happens with somebody touching your head so that your head calms down. When your head is calm because some anointing has happened, something is nice up here. You feel like you can let in life with your eyes and your ears because somebody has kissed you. Somebody has put their hand on your head. This makes brainstem convergence, inner looking, inner listening, so forth. You got to get to embodiment is what I'm trying to say. Embodiment is healing. And once you feel in your body, you're going to find the physical location of that anger. And in that physical location of your body brain, you're going to then just discharge it. Spend time black rocking. I call it black rocking. So get a rock, put both of your hands on the rock and discharge your stuff, make the rock black, or at least as an imagination. There's a famous story about how somebody got really healed because they took the junk out of them and then they went and they put it into a rock and the rock became black. So there's this vibe reality of life, isn't there? The heart's got a 40-foot field of magnetism. Every cell in the body has north and south pole of magnetism. So communication of informational magnetism is going on in your body now, is it not? So it's not thought. Thought is something on top of this feeling basis of this informational magnetism that is a big part of medical science and the future of medical science. If a bone doesn't heal in a hospital, they put a 7 hertz magnetic field on it. Most advanced way to diagnose a heart in a hospital is magnetocardiogram. They measure the magnetic field and they look at the organ from that. There's all sorts of realities of biomagnetism. That's the aura. If your mind's not quiet, you can't feel the biomagnetism going on in your spine, going on in the places where you're stuck and you can only fight and you can't surrender to tell the truth that you're having this feeling, you're having this emotion inside of your body mind. If you can surrender to the asteroids of ambrosial attack, because there's always going to be a relationship between when you relax and when you get distracted. If you can surrender to this process of calming down, slowing down, settling down, you're going to feel in your body where these dissymmetries and these dis-eases are. And now you can let it out. It's a feeling. You got to let it out as a feeling.
Excuse me, I have to attack a bird.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm defending my house. They're trying to set up a nest and we don't want to get attacked by mites again.
Okay.
Yeah, there's these holes in the ceiling. They're trying to dig a hole again and put a nest.
Oh.
We got bit by all these mites the last time they did that.
Oh.
It wasn't fun.
We have about 45 minutes.
Okay.
So I
Video's
use
off.
my anger to attack a bird.
Good. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to use anger for. Some kind of good defense.
Oh, do you say to stop video?
Think so.
I don't
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
Gotta go pee.
Shishi.
Shishi.
He knows the word now. Shishi.
It's a good word.
Only girls are allowed to say it though. It's not very masculine.
Okay. The going from thinking to feeling is a long distance. I remember it's been said that the longest distance is to go from the head to the heart. You're done already?
So is this just something that you know when you're in your heart? It's just a feeling. I can't really, you don't think you're in your heart, you just know.
You just are.
Mm-hmm. The feeling. You feel embodiment. You could focus on your fingernail and feel that. You could focus different areas of your body. Become heartfelt, heart-centered, heart-warmed. Develop guts, intestinal fortitude, backbone, roots that go deep. These physical locations of guts and heart and throat and head relate to emotional experiences and other locations. So you've got to go from thinking to feeling. Here's something about the Qi.
After more than 30 years of healing research and practice, I'm convinced that the ancient Chinese method of Qi, or life energy healing, is one of the world's greatest cultural treasures. It affirms a truth known to all ancient people, and that is, we are all healers. This program will teach you how to discover, train, and refine a natural and innate ability. All cultures recognize the existence of a subtle healing energy that can be gathered in the body or projected to another person. Among the Kung San tribe of South Africa, healing energy is called Num. It is stored at the base of the spine and in the lower abdomen. Through music and ecstatic dance, the Num begins to heat up and boil. Once the fingers are trembling with the energy, the shaman projects arrows of Num into anyone in need of healing. All Native American tribes recognize the healing power of wind and breath. The sacred sweat lodge ceremony cleanses the life breath of impurities. Some native healers actually breathe on their patients to infuse healing energy, or they transmit the life breath by holding their hands near an area of pain or illness. In Hawaii, the mana, meaning earth energy, and the ha, or breath energy, are gathered through ritual movements and expressed in the beautiful hula dance. Kahuna healers are able to project healing power and aloha, or love, through their hands. And in Judeo-Christian culture, God breathed the breath of life, the ruach, into Adam. Jesus healed through laying on of hands, and many spiritual healers in the West have imitated his example. In China, energy healing is called Qigong, a system of exercise and meditation founded by Taoists and mountain recluses more than 3,000 years ago. There are three basic types of Qigong. Healing Qigong emphasizes methods that build healing energy in the body and that improve vitality and well-being. There are two subcategories of healing Qigong. First, self-healing Qigong. Second, projecting healing Qi into another person. In Chinese language, healing others with Qi is called Wai Qi Zhi Liao, external Qi healing. The second type of Qigong, spiritual Qigong, includes meditative techniques to improve self-awareness and awareness of nature. The goal of spiritual Qigong is to be tranquil and yet fully alert. The third type of Qigong, sports Qigong, consists of techniques that condition the body by developing strength, stamina, balance, and flexibility. Sports Qigong exercises also prevent sports-related injury. In this program, we will be focusing on external Qi healing, on how you can use healing energy to be of help to others. However, before learning external Qi healing, you need first a self-healing Qigong workout, a self-healing Qigong preparation in order to be of help to others. Qi healing preparation exercises create a state of mental and physical clarity. They build stronger healing energy in your hands. The exercises increase your sensitivity to the energy field of your partner, and they help you tap into a well of healing energy in nature and healing energy in the universe. Practice these exercises every morning.
There's all kinds of options. Science is a wonderful way to understand about creating biomagnetic coherence. Coherence is more important than amplitude, and you can get that HRV app and see if you have heart wave coherence, and that relates to brainwave coherence. Slowing down is the only way that anybody gets anything done. The master's skill is the ability to center. So you could go many, many years in trying to do something, and then you have a moment of realization that's kind of earth-shaking, and you become totally still, and you conceive a new paradigm of insight. So it's really the inner world that eclipses the outer world. Void overcomes pulse. And if you follow the steps of how healing happens naturally for a human being, you know that there's more theta waves, there's more alpha waves. You slow down. Slowing down, getting to the place of clarity is a life devotion. It's not a convenience. So sense the nasal airflow now and begin to slow down a bit. Longer breath, longer breath, longer breath. Longer breath, rather than waiting to go on vacation or go over there. What about the art of centering, the master skill, the way that creative genius and a great Olympian delivers? Find internal coherence and resilience. Slow down, stop, reverse your search. remember, if you can't see the light through your eyelids, then you're probably wandering in thought too much. The reason that hospitals and therapists' office around the world use sensing nasal airflow and seeing eyelid light as methods for centering is because that's what's present when you're not distracted and frenetic in your attention. Much of our problems in life come from simply not being able to concentrate, to extend our attention span. If you become totally still, then you realize that no human being can be justified by law. In other words, you can never measure up. So if you want to encourage the best behavior in someone else or yourself, experience time well spent, quieting down, experiencing grace and love and kindness and gentleness, all these things that supposedly are anemic, but actually they're the qualities of the greatest intelligence, the greatest warrior, the greatest anybody. It's the stillness that precedes the action that means everything. So you don't need to worry about this, that, and the other thing primarily. You worry about it after the primary thing. Primary thing is breathtaking beauty. That's the place of brainwave coherence and hormonal nectar that is a sustainable path to your future, because you're discovering the inner world. Well, find the natural pause. Let time pass in between you and them, this and that. Establish spaciousness, timelessness. The greater your sense of spaciousness and timelessness, the quicker your processing speed. Jesus said, first you enter the kingdom of heaven and its righteousness, meaning by grace, and then everything you need will be given. First, settle down, calm down, touch down, break ground right here where you are, grow an extensive root structure. Cleave, draw up the power of the earth, rest yourself. Then engage dynamism. Then face life on life's terms and be proactive. But first is what? We always want to make first the outer. The outer is not first. You should have a sweet taste in your mouth, and there should be hormonal releases so that you feel magnetized. The animal magnetism comes when you can find your body mind rather than being stuck in your head. Then naturally your senses are sharper, and nature's nourishing with its varied nourishments begins to become more part of your life. Sky, stars, earth, animals, so forth, because that's what's in the presence of the container of our life, which is nature. So be nourished so much by life itself that you begin to feel better. You begin to become relaxed. Okay, video's on.
Oh. Ah.
So you start over then, whatever's going on for the rest of the day, start over to do another 7 steps. And maybe you want to focus more on the nourishments that come from nature. Maybe you want to do a reading. Maybe you have work to do and you can focus on your breathing as a drumbeat while you're doing some work. If you haven't been outside, make sure you go outside. You know, get your bare feet on the soil. Make your garden today. Questions, comments?
Thank you.
Yeah, I just
Pleasure.
during the meditation, I had I call it a small voice. I know this is a voice comes from somewhere. It was because I lay down a lot because I get tired from sitting and this and that. The voice was at first when we started, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't hardly breathe. Why can't I breathe? And then as I got into the meditation, started breathing a little deeper, and this voice said, "You need to practice standing and sitting deep breathing."
Cool.
So it feels good when there's some sort of, I don't know, wisdom that comes out of somewhere. It's not here. It's not here.
That's a good thing. You can go outside and practice standing in your new garden.
There you go.
Yeah, did you tell him about our place?
No, I didn't tell him. I was wondering if you wanted to tell him.
So our lease is up in June, and we're just waiting to get confirmation. The property was supposed to be sold. Looks like
It did get sold.
it did get sold, but it looks like we will be able to stay.
Oh,
So she
Possibly.
she's just the landlady. She's really
Hopefully.
sweet. So we're praying that we will be able to stay because the new tenants are gonna moving into the main
The new
house, which is
owners.
the new owners. They're gonna move into the main house and they want to keep the tenants that are in the cottage because there's
Oh.
two studios way back. So we're just praying that that's the direction that it's going in, but it feels like it is. So we'll probably hopefully be here for another year, if not more. So
That sounds good. You could,
then we can start our garden. We can get more
Yeah,
grounded
because then we
here.
know,
and
like,
we
it's
know.
more,
Okay.
yeah, maybe like a 1-year lease or something.
So it just
And I'm meditating on, oh, well, we really like you, we'll lower the rent for you.
oh, okay. Yeah, the rent's a lot now, isn't it?
Good luck on that one.
well,
It's going up
yeah.
everywhere. It's crazy. Yeah.
But what I have a feeling. I'm just gonna wait and just pray for the grace and because it'll help them out too. And they've already done a walkthrough of our house. They kind of get a feeling for who we are.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
we'll know by the end, hopefully by June 1st, because technically our lease is up on June the 20th. So
Okay.
At that point, we would be doing a new lease.
What is that, a 6-month lease you've been there or
It
more?
was
Was,
6
yeah.
months, yeah. Yeah, and the landlady, I called her. I told Anthony, I have a feeling we're supposed to call her and just was feeling, and I did call her and she said, thank you for calling me. I was waiting to get confirmation on everything, but this is what's happening. And
Okay.
I said, great, I'm happy for you because it's a good situation for her that it's complete. And I just acknowledged that with her and she's gonna.
Spend time tuning into whoever the new owners are.
Okay. Mubal.
It's one of the first times I didn't freak out. I just stayed, I feel calm. I did this, like the meditations helped me. Like for all this meditation, I'll be like, oh my God, we got to move. None of that occurred. I was like,
Actually, yeah, that was powerful for him because he didn't do any of that. And for me, I felt,
I leaned on her optimism.
well, trust, I really trust God's going to have us where we need to be. And I have a feeling about this place and the land. And if we're not meant to be here, we're not meant to be here. Something else will be there, but.
Well, remember the words of Winston Churchill,
Hmm.
walk softly, but carry a big stick. Or the famous Sufi proverb, trust in God, but tie up your camel.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, exactly.
you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Be sure to continue, please, to be in contact and stuff because we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. We'll
Yes,
see.
and also I might have a few more people for our next class.
Okay.
They're all like, some reason they're like in their 20s. And
Okay.
I'm having these conversations
Oh,
with
he
them.
loves
And I'm
them,
gonna,
right? The youth of America.
the youth of America might be coming your way. So
No, that's all right. That's okay. That's a good deal.
okay, good.
All right. We'll see you
Thank
soon.
you.
Thanks again, brother.
Bye.
Bye.